Understand the political and diplomatic implications there in Madagascar then, and what everything means for the country as Madagascar faces a major political crisis after Parliament voted to impeach President Andry Rajoelina, who reportedly fled the country following weeks of youth-led protests. An elite army unit, CAPSAT, has broken ranks, taken control and suspended key institutions, promising a transitional government ahead of new elections. We're now joined by Ambassador Gert Grobler, who is former South African ambassador to Madagascar. Ambassador, thank you for joining us. How are you this morning?
Good morning, and to all the listeners as well. Thank you.
From your experience on Madagascar, how significant is the impeachment of President Rajoelina and the military takeover in the country's political history?
Madagascar, I spent 4 years there as South Africa's ambassador from 2012 to 2016. Madagascar has always had a bit of a troubled history. In the 60s, when it became independent from France, actually right through to the let's say 2012, 2013, 2014, when SADC actually stepped in to restore constitutional normalcy and democracy. So for a while, things worked out okay in Madagascar. But I'm afraid what we are now seeing with the recent developments, with the start of the GZ protests in late September, the subsequent developments, the president tried to address the issue by dissolving parliament, hoping that would satisfy the protesters. It's mainly the youth, that would be acceptable to them. They said, no, we want you, President Rajoelina, to go. So subsequently, and of course, what was always a great concern was the role of the military. I actually, when this thing ensued in late September, beginning of October, I was really concerned about what the military was going to do. And in fact, the military then, through one of the elite units in the army, CAPSAT, decided that they are going to join with the protesters, and they have subsequently, of course, announced that they will be in power for 2 years. And they've dissolved a number of the institutions, like the Senate, like the High Court of Justice, High Constitutional Court, and so forth. So the bottom line is, this is not good news for Madagascar. The country has suffered. You have about 75% of the people in the country who live under serious poverty. So what is now happening actually takes Madagascar back to the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and it is just hope that there could be some form of inclusive dialogue, whether it's through SADC or whether it's with the AU, with European countries, to restore normality in the country.
So on that then, how should we understand the army's involvement in the politics of Madagascar from a diplomatic perspective, as we touch on CAPSAT, the elite army unit having taken control?
Well, President Rajoelina, and it's still alleged by many that he had the support of the military in 2009, when there was a coup in Madagascar, in which he took over power for a while. So the point is that the military has always played an important role in the developments of Madagascar. And of course, now with the military turning against their president, suspending all these democratic constitutional institutions which they have, and with President Rajoelina having left the country, no one apparently quite knows where he is. There's speculation that the French removed him from Antananarivo, or wherever. So all this does not augur well for political stability, for economic growth, which has always been a huge challenge for Madagascar. So for the foreseeable future, we can just hope that there will be some form of negotiation, some form of dialogue. But right at the moment, the situation in Madagascar does not look very good.
Ambassador, this is Peter Ndoro. Thanks so much indeed for joining us. When you arrived in Madagascar 2012, Andry Rajoelina, I think, was the head of a transitional authority in the country. He'd been mayor of Antananarivo. I'm trying to figure out what went wrong for him, because he's young, and a lot of what appealed to young people he represented. And it seems that it's the same young people that have ousted him. Did he forget where he came from, do you think? What was it? Because he did a lot in terms of urban renewal, I'm told. And this is what attracted him to, young people attracted to themselves to him. What do you think changed from this popular mayor of Antananarivo to this now rejected president?
Yes, indeed. President Rajoelina was the mayor of Antananarivo, and as I said, there was speculation at the time about a coup against President Rajoelina, who was one of the former presidents, and with the involvement of President Rajoelina and the military. And then there was a period where he was a transitional head, and then through the efforts of SADC and the AU, there was an initiative which I was part of to restore constitutional normalcy and democracy in the country, and that led to election. Although Rajoelina and Rajoelina didn't run in that election in 2014, that was when the former President Harry Rajaonarimampianana was elected. But in this, and then of course it went on to the election of President Rajoelina later, up to now. The problem is that the country has always suffered economic challenges. As I said, many people in that country do not have electricity, or 30% of the country do not have electricity. Water was an increasing problem. So, and now a lot of these younger people, it's in the context of the GZ, have now decided this is enough. And whereas they maybe supported Rajoelina in the 2009, 2010, 2011, I think there is a increasing frustration, and people are upset about the political, not only economic situation, but also there were a lot of allegations about corruption, about mismanagement. And of course, President Rajoelina did a number of good things in the country, but I'm afraid that the regression in this, the economy and the state of status of the economic status of people of Madagascar led to this protest.
How much influence do you think France has had over time? I mean, as soon as his time was coming to an end, Rajoelina, we hear and we believe that he was whisked off in a French helicopter. In your time, was the French influence still significant? And do you think France's hand is still there?
Yeah, that is unfortunately true. I mean, if one simply looks at France's track record on the African continent, they don't let go easily. And I think there are a number of examples on the continent, but particularly in Madagascar, the French, the government officials, the aid that they gave Madagascar played an important role in determining the political economic developments in the country. And of course, Rajoelina is known to have had close relations with France. He was recently elected, or him and Madagascar was recently elected as the chair of SADC, in fact, 2 months ago. And there was a lot of speculation and controversy at the time that Rajoelina is actually a French citizen. He only has a French citizenship, which probably could create all kinds of problems for SADC. And of course, and we can just hope that SADC will continue to focus on Madagascar together with the African Union and Europe maybe to bring about an inclusive dialogue. But the fact is that France has always been a factor in the Malagasy politics and economics.
Ambassador Asanda here again as we talk of France and the region. How is the perception, the international perception of Madagascar affected, especially on the front of diplomatic relations as we see all of this play out?
Well, unfortunately, it's not good for Madagascar. As I mentioned, in the 60s, 70s, after the independence from France, Madagascar always had an image of an unstable country, of a country where there are likely coups, and they were at the time. And that until in the about 2011, 12, maybe a little earlier, when SADC and AU became involved to restore constitutional democracy. And it was a success to a large extent, because elections were held. Rajoelina was elected twice, although there were also concerns at the time with the elections and the way the elections were held. But the bottom line is that the growing economic regression and the standard of living of people in Madagascar led to this riot, and it was triggered, as we all know, by the shortage or the outages of water and electricity, where many people in the country did not have access to, and this triggered this current very serious crisis, which will have in the foreseeable future a very negative impact on Madagascar's image as a destination for investment or tourism, etc.
To a previous point that you made, Rajoelina dissolving parliament, what does it reveal, this move, about the functioning of Madagascar's institutions?
Well, he was under pressure right from the minute the protest riot started at the end of September, and in an attempt to pacify the the protesters, and to try and save his own position, he decided to dissolve the parliament. And this was, of course, not accepted by the protesters. They wanted Rajoelina to go, and of course, this now further led to what I said early on. I was constantly concerned about is the role of the military, and the military decided they are going to back with CAPSAT, which is a very elite unit within the military, decided that they are going to support President Rajoelina, of course, to support the protest. President Rajoelina then, of course, decided to leave the country. He's in some safe place somewhere. And of course, now the military has taken control for 2 years. They have said that they will be in charge for 2 years. They've also dissolved a number of the Senate, as I said, the High Court of the International High Court, and a number of other institutions, which runs counter to democratic and constitutional values of the country. So it's not a very encouraging situation we are seeing at the moment in Madagascar, and I have a great admiration for the country. The people remain resilient and so on, but and President Rajoelina did some good things, but unfortunately, it all, there was a period from, I would say, after the SADC initiative in about 2010 to about 2014, everything has deteriorated, and it's actually taken a step back, or one or two steps back, in terms of constitutional normalcy and democracy.
Ambassador, perhaps finally, you mentioned SADC's interventions, and also the work that South Africa in particular played, and the work that you did. Do you think that South Africa and SADC could step in now and assist, and what role could be played by South Africa and SADC?
That's a very good question, and the sense is that SADC and South Africa and the AU, for that matter, needs to step forward. As I mentioned, SADC was elected as the chair of SADC. Madagascar was elected as the chair of SADC about 2 months ago, and right now there have been statements by SADC. There have been statements by the AU, and of course our own government's statement, in which they also suggested that there be inclusive dialogue. But right now, I don't see any concrete steps towards such a dialogue, and that's the only way that it's going to be able to be solved, is to get all the parties together, get the civil society together. The churches in Madagascar are fairly active and have been active in dialogue in the past. So I hope that in the next few days we will see some indications of attempts or endeavors to bring about a dialogue towards peace and stability in which is a wonderful country. It's a country with huge potential, in terms of minerals, in terms of tourism, in terms of agriculture. And one can just hope that the current issues can be solved. But make no mistake, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a difficult process.
Ambassador, it really has been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much indeed for sharing your insights about this country that seems to have a lot going for it and potential, but also challenges to overcome. Thanks so much for your time, sir.
Thank you very much.
That was Ambassador Gert Grobler, who was South Africa's former ambassador to Madagascar between 2012 and 2016, giving us his take on the current situation.
Let's now check in with news headlines as we say good morning to Jwalani Tulo Ngwepe. It's 8:30 Central African time.